Okay, Industry 4.0. Who has not heard about Industry 4.0? And you could say you haven't. Okay, everybody's heard about it. Great, so that means you know what it means. So, I covered this yesterday. We spoke about, it's a quick refresher. Back in the day, before the era of digital technologies, we captured our life in a different way. This is the Vatican, the new Pope was going to be elected, and people were capturing those memories with a traditional camera, okay? And that was the medium just in 2005. This is not too old. Things changed. By 2013, there was a revolution. And people's way of capturing memories had changed. All of you have cell phones, and this device is a multiple device in one. It's 100 devices in one. And we've literally changed. Technology has changed the way we interact with the world. And it's not only happening on the consumer side of things, it's happening in industry, in everywhere you go. From flying to going to the daycare to going to the hospital, things are changing. The one thing that I always talk about is a constant is change. So let's, from now on, assume that things will change every single day. A few people have misconception that, hey, I don't like change. And trust me, nobody likes change. People do not like when things change. But change is a constant. It will always happen. It will continue to happen. And if it doesn't happen, then something is wrong. Okay? So as technologists within the industry, let's agree to the fact that change will happen. Will change continue? Yes, raise your hands. Yes, change will continue to happen. Digital transformation is an idea we've been hearing for the last maybe 5 or 10 years. And what is digital transformation? What is transforming? Well, let me tell you what is changing. Jobs are changing. Occupations are changing. From lawyers to technicians to doctors to taxi drivers. Everything is changing. How people utilize services is changing. How people consume services is changing. How people pay for things is changing. So there's disruption in general. Things are changing from what they were to something else. And that's the process we are in right now. I always talk about the fact that anybody who's living, breathing, and is conscious today is living in the greatest era ever. Now, why are we living in the greatest era ever? Because I really believe that we've gone from the manual calculator maybe 20 years ago, from the fax machine. Actually, a lot of companies still use fax machines. We've gone from the fax machine to these manual processes in the last 10, 15, 20 years. And today we've got devices that are more powerful than those that NASA used to launch the mission to the moon. Literally, your cell phone is more powerful than the computers they used. So, of course, we live in an era of change, technology, and this perhaps is the greatest era because now the next thing coming up is artificial intelligence, it's distributed computing, it's the ledger. There's just so many things changing. So I really believe, and I love the fact that we are in this era of change. A typical Internet of Things, world of tomorrow, from smart cities to nuclear power plants that are connected with sensors, and we're seeing all these examples here. At this show, at this conference, we've seen people talk about systems, about connectivity, sensors, design, implementation, all of this. So literally any of this content or ideas you want to talk about, you will find people at this show. What does that really mean? Are we heading towards an era where everything will be powered by technology? I really believe we will. We will move into an era where things, roads, cars, clothes, everything will be technology enabled. And if you don't believe it, trust me, it will happen because it's happening right now. There are companies that are selling clothes that are technology enabled. There are companies that are selling shoes that are technology enabled. And while they are not available in the mass market, they definitely are hitting the shelves. So again, remind yourself that a bigger change is happening. Change is happening. It will continue to happen, okay? So we have to open our perspective. This session is about opening our perspective. No technical stuff being shared here. What is also happening is the rate of change at which things are moving is faster. Things are not following a linear order anymore. Does any of you have any of these devices at home strapped to your wrist? Who's using a Fitbit or a step meter counter? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 20, 25. Nobody here? Okay, we've got about 50 people who are using one of these devices. The first one is a camera. It's connected. It's a device you can connect to the internet. You can remotely control it. The second one is a step counter or a health monitor device. And the third is a thermostat. Now, 5 years ago, I didn't use any of these devices, but today I have all of them. And I've got more. And I'm not saying that I am the biggest technological geek in the world who's got everything enabled. No, I don't. But slowly, these things have creeped in our lives. And they will continue to do that. So I think as technologists, we also have the responsibility to go out and test new things. So just go ahead and buy a wristwatch, buy a Fitbit, use it, strap it to your wrist, and just be part of the revolution. Be part of the change. Now, when you start selling, let's say, Internet of Things, your solutions, your technologies to other people, it'll make a huge difference when you're using them yourself. They say that by the year 2045, the computing capability of machines will exceed that of human beings. 2045 is that year. So backtracking from that, by the year 2025, the computing capability of machines will be equivalent to that of human beings. By 45, it will exceed it. And that point is called the singularity point. That is the point that I'm personally a little bit afraid of, because I don't know what the machines will do. Will it be another Skynet? Will it be robots taking over? We have no idea, but we cannot be afraid of that time and say, well, I'm not going to touch a computer today because 45 years from now, they will take over our lives. Well, somebody else is working on that problem right now. So the point is that technology, again, is accelerating at a much faster pace than we previously knew. So it's not a linear graph anymore. So what does that mean? It means the idea of the fourth industrial revolution, going from the steam engine to electricity, which took, maybe 80 or 100 years, then going to automation in plants, which took another 50, 60 years, and going to the cyber-physical systems era, which took another 20 years. This pace is becoming shorter. The next step will be shorter. Maybe in the next 5 years, we will have artificial intelligence that will change something we were not expecting. So please keep that in mind. Change is happening at a much faster rate. Here's a chart that shows the evolution of computing capability of microprocessors. And they have been rapidly going up from the 1900s, and I don't want to go that far back, but if you go at the right edge where the Core i7 quad processor is, things are moving really, really, really fast. The next step is quantum computing or DNA computing, where machine power will be equal to the human brain. And this will happen faster than expected. And my challenge is, I don't want you guys to read it in the newspaper and say, well, oh my God, this has happened. No, you need to be aware of it before. You need to be in tune with the industry if you really want to succeed. I spoke a little bit about what's coming down the pipeline tomorrow. Hyperloop is a technology where we will be able to transport and move goods from, say, New York to Washington in 10 minutes, or from, let's say, from Helsinki to Amsterdam in 15 minutes. So distances will be significantly reduced. Smartphones are going to be obsolete in the next 5 to 10 years. We will not have smartphones anymore. Driverless cars, end of fossil fuels, and man and machine become one race. If you're afraid of that idea where you think being half machine or you will have an AI equivalent of your own self is like a digital clone, please don't be afraid of that, because that time is approaching us. So we've got to be acceptable to change that is really a huge step for us. So we've got to be mentally prepared for all these things to happen. Okay, let's go to real life stuff. What does it really mean to be successful in the era of Industry 4.0? Let's come back here. I really believe there's some simple steps. If you want to be successful today, you want to have an organization, a company, an operation, or success in your career, your life, your work, there's literally 7 steps you need to follow. There's 7 core areas that you need to build and focus on that will facilitate and propel you into the future. Step number 1 is engagement. This is the era where engagement has changed. This is the time where how people think has changed. And you can see it by how you interact with other people, with what media you consume, how you see news, how you use your cell phone. So obviously, things have changed the way we interact. We're on social media. That's just a tiny piece of the puzzle. But we're talking about managing a multi-billion-dollar petrochemical plant remotely with a cell phone. Now, that's a big change if you think about it. So I really believe this era is about a different kind of engagement than we had 10 or 15 years ago. And we've got to fast forward ourselves. Unless you do not engage with your customers at a new level, you're still running with the old rules. You've got to accept the new rules. Whether it's engaging with your customers, your partners, your internal employees, you've got to do some groundwork now and refresh your organization's focus. This session goes much deeper, and I'm covering it really fast because we don't have a lot of time. But you could be recreating your engagement strategy for the organization only for sales, and it'll go levels deep down. Or whether it's marketing, whether it's customer service. So start thinking, how do I shape my organization to be a different player that understands the era of change? Number 2, accountability. I don't think this era is about people automatically being accountable. Now, I understand that at a geographical level, at a cultural level, there's different regions and people are accountable in a different way. But today we do business internationally. A majority of you are selling cross-border, or somebody from outside the country is selling to you. So the idea of accountability is no longer that I expect you to fulfill your contract, but organizations today need to have such a successful and such a different value proposition that accountability is embedded into the people that work for you. The teams, the people that you hire have to be accountable from grounds up. And you don't have to tell them, hey, can you be more accountable? And I really believe this is a pillar for success for companies today. Number 3, this is also the era of learning. If you are not learning every single day, you are creating steps to failure. If you're not reading anything every day, if you're not enrolled in a course, whether it's a free course, it's a training, it's an education series, and there's so many of them that are available today, if you're not doing that, then you're literally planning your failure. And I don't want you to do that. I want you to succeed. So start looking at opportunities. There's websites such as Coursera, edX, and many others that offer courses from MIT, Stanford, INSEAD, and they're all free learning opportunities. You can learn about technology, you can learn about AI, IoT, and many other things. So start learning, because if you don't learn, the person next to you will learn, or the company next to you will learn, and they will propel faster than you are propelling. I cannot stress the importance of collaboration. If you think you're going to conquer the world on your own, then you are wrong. You're going to fail. This event is a perfect opportunity to build collaborative opportunities, to talk to the next person and say, hey, what do you guys work on? Maybe we can work on something together. Today is also the time when we can't be like companies that used to do everything. Today's scale and speed are really, really important. And unless you have a collaborative mindset, then it's going to be very hard to succeed. So start thinking about your collaboration strategy. You've got to have tangible goals about how to collaborate with companies. How many partners do you need to recruit in order to be successful? Whether it's implementation partners, whether it's sales partners, marketing partners, you've got to start thinking from a strategic point of view. Number 5, the future is about acknowledgement. And this doesn't mean you start giving people free money. But acknowledgement is of different types. And it's not about monetary acknowledgement, but it's about appreciating success, and it's about recognizing failure as well. If you don't acknowledge these things and appreciate them, then you are missing the point. I really want you guys to focus on creating a strategy for acknowledgement, whether it's for employees internally, whether it's for partners, whether it's for successful projects. Let me tell you, all these things are important because they're the pillars for success for your organization to succeed in today's era. Start thinking about where are you missing the boat in acknowledging anything? Do you do this or not? Number 6 is about the picture that's beyond revenues. It's beyond generating the money. It's beyond driving sales. Let's assume you've got that under control. But the idea is more about creating more value. What does your company stand for? What's the larger purpose for your organization? Are you there to create social change? Are you there for social justice? Are you there to provide to a community that doesn't have access to something? Or maybe you're out there to serve a business community so that they can create change. There are many ways you can attach yourself to creating value, and successful companies don't think about financial things all the time. They think about creating a larger difference. So go back and think about, what does your organization stand for? What does your company stand for? And how can you create more value in the world rather than just drive revenues? And trust me, success will follow you if you follow this strategy. Number 7, it's the Maslow's theory. And I really believe that if we think about going above and beyond just being successful and doing our jobs, and we think about reaching this point of perfection or actualization, where success is guaranteed, people are happy, you are creating change, everything is great, and you're in there literally to leave a legacy as an organization, as a collective people who are making a difference. You will succeed. You will succeed more than anybody else in your entire country, your region, your competitive landscape. The reality is that disruption will not stop. It'll continue happening. Change is taking place faster than we knew. Do we know what's going to happen tomorrow? Do we know that these are the changes that will happen next year? No, we don't. We can't predict it. We cannot predict change. And so in order to do that, you've got to have steps that will really determine your success. These 7 steps, or the 7 actions of value creation, are pivotal for any organization that's focused on success today. And I highly recommend that you follow these. There's a whole format for these, and I want to leave you with something real quick because I'm out of time. As we head into this era of the 5th industrial revolution that's driven by artificial intelligence, we've got to find a newer way of engaging. We've got to find a newer way of succeeding. And focus on execution. Don't let execution not be your final step. We spend a lot of time sometimes in planning things, but we forget to execute our plans. So please start thinking about, how do you really put your plans into action? And I was talking about creating that list of things earlier. Take your notes, draw 10 things, and then use those for your day and prioritize those. So please don't forget execution. I'm also giving away a digital copy of my book called The 7 Actions of Value Creation. You can access it at that URL at the bottom. It's a much longer format of what I was just talking about, and maybe it'll help you understand what change is all about and how to implement these 7 actions. Let me know if I can be of any help, but I know I'm out of time, and thank you for your attention. I really, really, really do appreciate it, and I hope you have a really successful rest of the day today. And that's the end of my session.